looking into the hole feature. Oh, there we go. But moving on from here, what we've added in here around our hole feature is the ability first to create multiple different holes within a single hole feature. So this is based upon a sketch. The user will go through, create a sketch on a particular plane. And if they have points that are defined there, or endpoints of linear entities, even midpoints of linear entities, you could have a hole created at that location. So it's allowing you to create many different holes within one single hole feature. It's simplifying the overall process. It's speeding up generation and regeneration, and also helping to reduce the size of the model train. And from there, we enhanced our hole standard support. We expanded our lightweight holes capability. So lightweight holes were something that was actually introduced a while back with Creo, and it's for models that have a very large amount of holes. I'm able to switch to lightweight representations where it gives me a graphical location of where that hole is, but it doesn't actually build out the whole geometry. So that's, again, helping to speed up regeneration, helping me to do iterations much faster. And now with Creo 8, we've now expanded that to support all hole types that you're going to work with, whereas previously it only worked with a certain subset of holes. All right, moving on from here and kind of building on our multi-body design architecture that we introduced with Creo 7. Now in Creo 8, we're introducing the notion of inseparable assemblies. So what this allows you to do is take an assembly that exists today or one that you're building out and actually embed all of the parts that are in that assembly, or even just a subset of parts in that assembly, into the actual assembly file itself. So whenever it's saved off, whether you're saving it to a PDM system, you're saving it locally, what you have is just a single assembly file. So it's just one business object that you're managing, tracking, controlling, and you still have access to all the individual parts. You can still edit the individual parts. All the relationships, interdependencies are still maintained between those parts in the assembly. But whenever you're looking at from a bill of materials standpoint, from a business object standpoint, it's stored and captured as just one single business object. So a lot of great uses that we can get out of using those inseparable assemblies now. Creo 8 also sees us continue to enhance our routed systems capabilities. So here with cabling, what we've added is branch tape. And a branch tape is an identifier to say at a particular joint or a junction in my cabling, we need to wrap tape around it. So it's a graphical representation or cosmetic feature to say essentially that there needs to be tape wrapped around that particular joint. And then here with the stiff shrink, it's a slightly different feature, again, cosmetic, but because it's a stiff joint, it actually changes the flow or the path of the cable as it goes into and comes out of that joint. And from there, we also, again, worked in our ECAD support using the IDX format. That's the format that we use to collaborate between ECAD tools and Creo. So collaborating between them, what we could do is actually, in the past, we've been able to bring in that PCB board outline. We could also bring in any holes that are in that board. And now with Creo 8, we've expanded that support to support slots as well. So you can bring in the slots, the holes, the board outline. You're able to make changes on the ECAD side, and now on the MCAD side, be able to be flexible for any of those changes and really start to collaborate between anyone working on the electronic side as well as the mechanical side. And here looking at sheet metal is also continued to be enhanced with Creo 8. And here we focused on the flat wall tool. And the flat wall tool allows you to essentially pick an edge and use that to define the shape of your wall that you want that edge on. So whereas before we were only able to utilize one edge of just a single type, what we've done with Creo 8 is consolidate that and allow you to pick multiple edges within that single feature redefinition. And because I'm picking multiple edges, I have access to control items like miter cuts, corner reliefs within that wall definition as well. All right, here another enhancement that we've included here is a geodesic curve or geodesic option. This is a type of curve that's defined as a curve through 2 points that follows along a surface. But with this, it's the shortest distance between those 2 points. That has a lot of great downstream uses, like you can see here, probably work well for a routed capability when you want to have the shortest distance between there. So another really great option there. All right, moving on to rendering here, our Render Studio capability, which is utilizing the Luxion engine. It's the same engine that's used over in Keyshot. In Creo 8, we've expanded this now to be able to take advantage of the graphics card as well. So if your system has an NVIDIA RTX graphics card, Creo is able to automatically leverage that GPU to do real-time rendering. So that's significantly speeding up rendering time, allowing you to get your renders done faster. We also provide a new option called denoise, which is helping to reduce the fuzziness or the graininess that you get in your image while you're interacting with it. So really helping it to converge to that final solution quicker. All right, so that's what we want to cover, just around a lot of the base capabilities that we've included and enhanced with Creo. Again, that's everything that I talked about there is just out of the box Creo. Any standard user is going to have access to all those different commands. And even with model-based definition as well, this is something that is out of the box with Creo that we're, again, continuing a lot of our effort to expand MBD or model-based definition capabilities within Creo as well. And starting with symbols, we've introduced new streamlined workflows for placing and editing symbols. We see a lot of users that work with this. We're providing a rich gallery of standard symbols to work with. And now with Creo 8, users have quick access to commonly used symbols. It's providing them the ability to easily customize or categorize the symbols that exist within that gallery, or any ones that you would add in within there. And also symbols support their semantic definition now with Creo 8 in the same way that it works for annotations or nodes. Essentially means that you can now run a semantic query on the symbol. It lets you know which references are associated with that particular symbol. All right, and now looking at the GDT Advisor, which, and this is going to be an extension within Creo, but this is a tool that we introduced back in Creo 4 to guide users through the process of adding in GDT to their models in the space of model-based definition. It's also helping them to educate on GDT for selected geometry, as well as validation that that GDT has been done correctly. Everything's appropriately constrained. And now with Creo 8, we've expanded the GDT Advisor to support assemblies as well. So this is probably one of the most asked for enhancements we have around MBD and the GDT Advisor. So now we can allow our users to fully constrain their models in the context of the assembly. And within this as well, we've also introduced a new interface for managing annotation mismatches, particularly if you're bringing in any models that have legacy annotations associated with them. The mismatch interface will now identify any issues that come up in that conversion and also give you tools to be able to go in and address any of those issues. All right, looking a little bit further here with some general enhancements, we've improved standalone annotations within Creo 8. We did that by supporting Creo's rule-based selection. So you can do that with loop surfaces, seed and bound surfaces, all surfaces within a particular body using those multi-body commands. So that's not only speeding up the selection of many different entities, but it also means that moving forward, the selections are now parametric. So if there's any geometry changes, they're able to regenerate and update accordingly, just as any other rule-based selections would do within Creo. We also have a lot of customers today that have a large number of 2D legacy drawings that they need to maintain, but at the same time, maybe they don't necessarily need to have or even want to have an associated 3D model with it. So what we did with Creo 8 was enhance our 2D drafting capabilities within those drawings, starting with the ability to create drawing views. This helps you now to import in a 2D drawing, select all the entities within a particular view, and identify that as a drawing view, which means that you're able to have control over it, scale it, move it around, and reference the other views. We also enhanced the interface for how you go about editing and creating 2D draft entities, which leverages a lot of the interface and the workflow that we have in our Creo layout tool. Now, a lot of that user interface is being brought over into our drafting environment. Again, really streamlining that overall process and helping our users to make those changes much faster as well. All right, so what I'd like to move a little bit more into now is some of our emerging technologies, some of the things that we work with different extensions within Creo. And we go ahead and start with generative and simulation capabilities. And looking here first at Creo Simulation Live, and this is something that we've had a lot of work and enhancements to over the past couple of releases of Creo. And in Creo 7, a lot of our development time in CSL was spent on introducing real-time fluid simulation. And that was done initially for transient studies where the results refine over the course of time. But we know a lot of our users want to design for the steady state as well. So with Creo 8, we've added the ability to perform those steady state simulations. And that'll actually be the default now. So the user can switch from transient to steady state, but now you have the option between those two. And as well there, we can see we have the enhanced probes. So now we can redefine those, their location within the model, what type they are, so making it even easier to get those results back even faster. And again, with any of these areas, if you'd like to see a deeper dive into these, we'll be taking a deeper dive. And if there's anything that we aren't going to be looking at specifically, feel free to reach out. We could definitely dive a little bit deeper into any of those topics. All right, taking a look at Creo ANSYS simulation here. This is actually something that we just released with Creo 7.0.2, but we were still able to make some different enhancements with the release of Creo 8. So what we've done here is expose certain controls in the model tree for mesh control. Any changes or refinements that you make to the meshing will now be flagged and identified in the simulation tree. We also now provide mesh diagnostics inside of our process manager, so you're able to more clearly understand any issues that you might have from meshing. Right, another great tool there. But we can move into our generative design capabilities, which is If you haven't worked with this before, it's autonomously building out optimal models just from whatever system design requirements you have. You can really do that from the start of your design. So what we have now is first the automatic creation of our generative parts envelope. What we've done is remove the restriction where the user needs to specify that starting envelope. The system's able to automatically calculate that for you based on the geometry that you say you want to keep or get rid of. And from here, we have also now made generative design optimization asynchronous. Basically means that I could start an optimization, and while it's running, I could be working elsewhere in Creo, and it's just working behind the scenes. So again, helping us to free up the system. You can get more done while you're designing. And from there, we've also expanded our draft handling. So one of our manufacturing optimizations or criteria that you can do is a casting or a parting line where you have a split line, and that's going to utilize a draft angle. So now with Creo 8, we're able to reconstruct that straight to CAD geometry. And finally, we also introduced a new manufacturing constraint for minimum crease radius. Anywhere that you have blending as a result of the optimization that you're running, it'll define what's the maximum minimum radius for that blending, just helping to more evenly distribute stress and create a more smooth shape overall. All right, so final area that we're going to move into talking about is with our additive and subtractive manufacturing areas. So first, we can go ahead and look at additive. And this is, first of all, combining our design for additive manufacturing with our emerging technology that we see around simulation-driven design. With Creo 8, we're really taking that to the next level by introducing the idea of simulation-driven lattices. So users can now leverage simulation results from Creo Simulation Live, as well as Creo Simulate as inputs into that lattice creation. So that means that whenever we're working with a model, we see any high stress points or low stress points in the model, the system will automatically vary the density of those lattices in particular areas to get more of a uniform stress distribution. And in addition to that, we also replaced our algorithm that we use for our formula-driven lattices. So looking at what we have in the screen there, like gyroids, for example, this will actually now leverage the same engine that we use in our generative design studies. So the same engine is used to build out our formula-based lattices. We also improved our build direction optimization. This is something that we introduced back in Creo 6. It's a tool to help you analyze and optimize the orientation of your part for printing purposes, whether that's for minimizing the number of support structures, optimizing it to put more components, or even reduce the build time. It's a very useful tool. And previously, you're only able to optimize for one of those optimizations. But now what we can do is optimize against all of them simultaneously. We can give a weighting or a percentage for each of those, and it'll optimize based upon that. Right, so that's a quick look into some of our additive enhancements, and finally wrapping up here with some of our subtractive manufacturing. And in Creo 5, actually, we introduced 3-axis high-speed machining capabilities in Creo for doing roughing and finishing operations. And now with Creo 8, we've expanded that tool for supporting 5-axis machining as well. So you now have 5-axis roughing, rest roughing. We've also introduced 5-axis auto deburring, which will analyze the part. It identifies all the hard edges within the part and automatically then calculate a tool path to go in and machine off those hard edges. In addition to that, we've also added in options into our existing 3-axis tool paths. We added a 3+2 machining operation for roughing and rest roughing. And then looking at it from a finishing perspective, from that standpoint, we've added in automatic conversion of 3-axis to 5-axis for finishing and rest finishing. And that'll essentially machine the model as a 3-axis toolpath wherever it's able to. But if there's any areas of undercuts or any areas that would mean some gouging of the part, the system will then automatically convert from a 3-axis toolpath to a 5-axis toolpath to be able to machine that undercut. And I do want to mention from a packaging perspective, any customer out there today that currently has 3-axis high-speed machining will get access then to 5-axis capabilities as part of that. So the 3-axis package that we offered will then have that 5-axis added to it. All right, so again, that's everything that we have to cover today. Hopefully, again, it just gives you a bit of a high-level look over some of the key strategic areas or enhancements that we made within Creo. Really a lot of great functionality that we can dive more into if you'd like to. And we're going to be focusing in on some of these different areas in the coming weeks as well. So if you're interested in some of those areas, I'm sure Rob will take us through a little bit about what that's going to look like. But really for today, wanted to make sure that we covered everything at a high level so you can really see that, again, PTC and Creo is making a lot of enhancements. We're really taking a lot of time and effort into this tool that we call Creo. So I wanted to cover that all today, and I can pass it back over to Rob to wrap up and take any questions that we may have.
Yeah, we have a couple things in the Q&A, and one of the things I'm gonna maybe you need to go get this, Paul. Someone was asking when you were going through the model-based definition, the example of a sheet metal part, they wanted to see that flat. So I'll let you figure that out. But while you're doing that, there is a lot in Creo, whether you have Creo 4 or Creo 8. And we've done a couple of webinars that are actually on our YouTube page, 3HTI on YouTube, where our principal, Gary Hoffman, who started with PTC back in 1990. So he's used Creo, sold Creo for a long time, and he understands all the changes that it's gone through over the years. We've done a couple of webinars describing what exactly is in your Creo package. So based on what release you have, what version you have, this webinar is great because you can find out what currently you have access to, whether you're on a regardless of version. So what we do as a reseller for our customers, we give 1 hour of desk side coaching per license, or if you have one license, we'll give you 2 hours of desk side coaching. So what we'll do is remotely, we will have one of our engineering directors sit with your team, your users, and go over Creo specifically to how you're using it, regardless of version that you have. If you upgrade to Creo 8, we'll give you 2 free hours of desk side coaching to get up and running on Creo and go through all the shortcuts. So some of the things that are in Creo, like design exploration extension, flexible modeling, hopefully you're using these capabilities that come with the base license of Creo. If you're not, you don't know what they are, contact us. We'll take you through them because our goal is to help you to be more efficient. So with that, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and possibly give it back to Paul, or let Paul take it because we have a couple of questions. So one is Creo 8 stable enough to convert over from version 7.4?
Yeah, absolutely. So you should have no problems converting over. And even going forward, we come out with quarterly enhancements or updates for Creo, specifically Creo 8, making sure that there's any different types of issues that come up or any types of things that need to be corrected. We go through and make sure that we're staying up to date with that very quickly. So should have no problems there.
Okay. Another question is, how many versions have been released to date? So, I mean, I'll let you answer that, Paul.
I mean, I guess it depends what you mean by versions. I mean, if you're going back to just Creo, then there's been 8 versions with minor releases or maintenance releases in between each of those. But I mean, looking at it from a pro engineering or from a wildfire perspective, it's hard to count how many issues or how many
Creo
releases
goes back,
of Creo
or I think
there's.
Pro Engineer goes back to 1986, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. So I think Creo is getting old enough to just about be having its midlife crisis at this point.
Funny. I know I've gone through mine. So going back to, are you able to show that, whatchamacallit, a sheet metal part?
Yeah, I would have to look into I'd have to find the data set for that one. If we were going to actually take that and unflatten it and actually get the flattened part for it. Again, if that's something that is interesting for you, I could definitely reach out to Rob after the fact once I get access to that data set, and we can look at what that would look like as a flattened data set.
Yeah, we'll get back to the requester on that. Definitely.
Yeah, Creo does have a lot of really strong sheet metal capabilities. A lot of customers utilize Creo for being able to do that type of sheet metal work, getting all the manufacturing, getting the flat from it. So yeah, definitely something that we're able to do. And if that's something that you wanted to see, we could definitely reach back out with that.
About 4 or 5 years ago, I was on a call with Gary Hoffman with a prospective customer who is based in Warner Robins, Georgia. And this woman was saying, she said, Gary, I've been around for a long time, and I've used CATIA and I've used Siemens NX, and she started naming all these different CAD softwares, and she was referring to Creo and its sheet metal capabilities. She's like, I've never seen anything like this. She said, this is fantastic. So yes, Creo has fantastic sheet metal capabilities, and we can do we could do a demo specifically. The question is, it looked like some walls would interfere with each other in the flat.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to look into the data set itself to give a more concrete answer, but we could definitely look into that after the call today.
Okay. Sounds good. We will do that. So next week is going to be additive manufacturing at noon. I don't think anybody's sharing any screens or anything. Hang on a second. There we go. Share that. And I think we answered all of the questions. So if anybody has any, need to get in touch with us, like I said, you can just respond to the email that was sent to the invitations for this webinar. If not, you can contact us at info@3hti.com, pretty easy, or you can send me an email or give me a call directly. We're more than happy to help you out. Paul, thanks again for being on today, and most importantly, I want to thank a tremendous turnout for everybody who attended today. So that's going to wrap it up. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day and have a great weekend. We'll see you hopefully next Thursday for the additive portion of Creo 8. Take care, everyone.